Anything that's profitable, we really don't discriminate. Like we're good to sell whatever. It's been awesome. Once I switched on to AI, it was insane. Like the sales just like came rolling in. Selling on Amazon, it's not like a spectator sport. Like no one's gonna hold your hand. Like we'll give you the information, but like you have to take action.
Hello everyone and welcome to this BQool webinar. My name is Steve and I'm from the UK, where my wife and I had a small private label business selling on Amazon and eBay. Our guest is from the US and I know you'll be as interested as I am to meet him and hopefully get some tips on how he's been able to successfully grow his healthy six-figure business. His name is John Muscarello, and towards the end of 2016, he started selling in his local area. He was hooked after seeing profits and was able to quit his job and start selling full-time in 2019. He even featured in a CNBC article. He continues to grow and wants to help others discover the same freedom. So, please, without further ado, join me in welcoming John Muscarello, aka the Side Hustle Experiment, to the show. Welcome, John.
Thank you so much for having me, Stephen.
We're very, very happy to have you with us. Thank you. So let's launch into it, John. How did you get started? Just to give us an idea. Was it the books or furniture?
It was actually furniture. So I started selling furniture probably 3 or 4 years ago. I was buying stuff on Craigslist, selling it on Facebook Marketplace. So a lot of people are moving. They had tables and chairs. I actually started with a set of 4 chairs. I saw an offer on OfferUp. The people wanted $40 for 4 chairs. I offered them $10 and then sold them a couple days later for 40. And I was like, wow, like this is pretty crazy. And the goal was just to double the money. So if I spend $40, like I want to get 80. If I spent 100, I want to get 200. And I kind of kept doing that for a while. And then it was crazy. I got like my first place on my own, and I bought this beautiful like glass table that had like 6 chairs. I was a single person. Why I needed the table, I have no idea. And I started flipping the furniture, and I needed more space for furniture. I'm like, I don't want to get rid of the table, and I paid $100 for the table. And I was like, you know what? If I get $250 for this table, like it's gone. I posted it. Literally an hour later, someone's like, "I'll give you 240." I'm like, "Done." And that just changed my whole mindset where I was like, I just don't have to double the money. Like I could like double, triple it. Like it was like eye-opening to me. So then I started paying $50 for stuff and charge like $250 and just kept going and going. And then the kind of not the downfall, but it was Christmas time, and I'm originally from New York. I live in Pennsylvania right now. I went home for the holidays, and then I was like, "Oh, I can't make any sales because I'm not at home, like, to deliver this stuff or meet people." And I was like, "I need a different way." Like, I really love this side hustle. And the reason I really started was because when I got my first job, I negotiated that, like, after the first 3 months, if I did a good job, like, I would get, like, a $5,000 bump. So, basically, I did a good job, got that, and then after the year was over, like, when everyone else got a raise, and they were just like, We're not giving you a raise because we already gave you a
Because they'd
bump."
already given you one. That
Yeah,
was
and I
their
was like, "That
argument. Oh,
wasn't the deal." And then in my head, I was like, "There's no way I could go on like this. I need to be in control." And that's kinda what got me looking into flipping items online.
I see. Yeah. So even that's interesting because you were talking about the 4 chairs at the beginning, and you started by thinking, "Oh, I may not get the profit," and you were trying to get it. They asked for 40, and you got it down to 10. So you were looking for the profit margin already, but then you were surprised to sell them very, very quickly, and the table even more so. That's interesting.
Yeah, definitely. It's a crazy market just to see, like, what people list. I started with furniture just because, like, everyone always has a lot of it that they wanna get rid of. and everyone always needs it. Like, if you move into your first house, you don't care what you get. Like, you need something cheap, but, like, there's no cheap furniture, so, like, you gotta go to, like, a used marketplace.
Many people are scared of starting something new, especially an Amazon business. What would you say to somebody in that situation if they're a bit worried or scared of starting?
I would say I get this question a lot. I would say one of the best pieces of advice is to just get started. There's so much information out there. I mean, I have my own YouTube channel. I'm friends with a lot of different content creators, and everyone always asks, like, "What's the best way to get started?" It's like, open an account. Like that. Like everyone thinks there's so much. It's like, no, you have to open an account, like to even start this. So I think it's open an account. Maybe I like to say, like, if you know of something, like if you're very into video games or
Hmm.
toys or fashion or dogs or pets or whatever, like you know a little bit about that market. So you might have an
Hmm.
idea of like I have a dog, so like obviously we buy him treats and toys and this and that. So like you know, we know of all these sales and, like, when to buy it. So, like, if you could use that as an advantage to get started, I think that's a really good place to start, something you know. And I really don't think there's really I always like to say, like, what's the worst that could happen, right? Like, you
Mm.
pay $4 for the seller account, okay. Like, maybe you buy some software, so we're in, like, maybe $140. I don't know. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work, but I mean, it's always worth a shot. Like, you'll never know until you try it.
Yeah, I think that's true. It's worth a shot, and you can always start small just to test the
Yeah,
waters, see what it's like. Yeah, 5 units maybe, and
yeah,
see how it goes, depending on what it is, of course. Yeah, I
yeah,
think that's true. If we have a pet, then we're looking at pet food. We're just naturally focusing on that area. But as you get more experience, then start to look in other areas. But good advice. Start with
yeah.
what you know. Good. Okay.
Yeah, or start with what you buy. I mean, everyone buys stuff from Amazon, so, like, maybe
Mm.
look at stuff you buy and see if you get it cheaper. You'll probably be mad 'cause you're paying a lot more on Amazon, but you never know.
You never know. That's true. That's true. Can you give us an overview, John? You're talking about pet food, but and furniture and books. Is there anything else that you sell on Amazon? Anything?
So yeah, right now, so I really got into bulk books. So basically, how I started selling books on Amazon. I was going thrift store to thrift store, and then eventually, I kind of got tired of doing that. I found someone who would sell them to me in bulk. So basically, we buy Gaylords of books, which is like a huge box, about 1,000 pounds. There's about 800 to 1,000 books in each one, and we have a warehouse, so that's where we process everything.
I was going to say the logistics, something that
Yeah.
heavy. It must be, yeah.
Oh god, yeah, we have, like, a forklift, we have machinery to, like, dump it on a table, um, all sorts of stuff going on there, but then, restock limits hit, and for booksellers, it was really tough because we sell a lot of one-off items, like, when I get
Mm,
a bunch of books, there's usually not 10 of one copy or 20 of one it's 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So then we got into online arbitrage, and probably within the last 5 or 6 months, we've been going really heavy in that. So we're selling anything from pet products, beauty products, apparel, some media products, just really anything that's profitable. We really don't discriminate. Like we're good to sell whatever that's
right.
profitable.
I get it. I get it. Very, very good. Um, so let's look at books. You're moving more out of books now because you're focusing on other areas. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so we're moving more out of books into online
Hmm.
arbitrage. When I got the warehouse and we were doing books, I envisioned it much differently than it kind of played out. Obviously, restock limits definitely had a part in it,
Hmm.
but it was almost like starting to do OA. Like I got a taste similar to when I started doing books, and I was like,
Hmm.
"Wow, like, this is what I wanna do." So, like, while the books is like I will always like books, I
Mm.
find online arbitrage to be much more scalable. I'm not gonna need a warehouse. A lot of my online arbitrage right now is going to a prep center, so I'm not even, like, touching the inventory, I'm not seeing the inventory, and it will allow me to work from wherever I want, and then once I
Right.
started getting into that, I was like, "Wow, like, this is it." Like, this is what I
Mm.
wanna do. I don't wanna do books anymore.
I think that's interesting as well. People starting out, they're looking at different business models, they're trying different things. But where you're different is that you started and you're established as a bookseller. So you were selling
Yeah,
these books and for quite a while, building up the
yeah.
experience before diversifying. I think that's an important point to make. And obviously you've been successful, and now you're finding your niche or your area where
Yeah,
you're more comfortable.
it yeah, that's kinda how it started, and it's also, like, a hard thing to do because like, you invest so much time in the books, and now to kinda make that pivot and, like, kinda relearn like, the base of Amazon, but it's a whole different model and different things that have to happen, um, but yeah, it's been, like, a really but yeah, I wouldn't be able to really move into OA so quickly if I didn't know how to do books.
Right. Yes. Thank you. Can you give our audience some tips on sourcing, John? Has it changed since the early days? Are you doing things differently now?
Yeah, definitely for I feel like for online arbitrage, it's definitely a little different. I was actually listening to a podcast today, and they were saying this person started much earlier than I did, and they were saying much more people are doing it, but the
Mm,
people who started when they started are much more mature, so they're much more advanced. So it's basically like the people who are doing it right now, or the advanced people, are so
mm,
much further along, but the new people coming in are also somewhat business savvy, so there's not as big of a gap. So it's really just being smarter when you're sourcing. A lot of people, while sourcing clearance is good on like
mm,
sites or using software like tactical arbitrage is
mhm.
good, but everyone's doing that. Everyone's running those searches. Everyone's looking for clearance. Like you might be first to the market, but no, there's like 20, 30 people, like, coming right behind you, with
Is
the
it kind of
same
like the gunfight at the OK Corral where everybody's holding a scanner and it's kind of.
exactly, and it's just, like, hopefully you bought it cheap enough for, like, you could sell out and, like, move on to the next thing.
Hmm.
So I feel like a lot of it is, like, you have to be smarter, you have to be, like, stacking coupons, shopping sales,
Hmm.
maybe shopping at, websites that aren't as well known, but still big. Um Yeah,
Does
I
cashback
would
come
say
into that for you, even at your level, John? Are you still looking for cashback deals on purchases?
I really don't factor in cash back, to
Okay.
be honest. I feel like sometimes cash back, as great as it is, um, like, I love Rakuten, but it's not a guarantee. Like, sometimes
Mm,
it goes through, sometimes it doesn't. Um, but I'm more factoring sales. Like, you could find a lot of websites that are doing 20, 30% off sales, like, pretty regularly.
mhm,
Or I love sites that give you like, if you spend $10, they'll give you if you spend 100, they'll give you 10 back. You just kinda build, like, a little reserve.
mm.
I think that's such a oh my god, that's such a game changer for stuff like that because then all of a sudden you have all this cash that you earned, and it's just like free money.
So
And so
over
I think
time, it kind of builds
people are
up.
smart.
Yes, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, and it's nice to have it, but you're not depending on it. It's not part of the business model, but it's nice to have that cushion, that margin.
I like to build in very big margin in case
Hmm.
a lot of people do come in, so I'm looking at, like, anywhere from, like, 5 all the way up to, like, maybe 10, 20, because I
Mm,
wanna know that, like, if a lot of people come in, I could easily drop the price down a lot and still be making a dollar or 2, or worst case scenario, break even. So I'm really
right.
looking for, like I mean, obviously, there are some exceptions where, like, I can make $1.50 and sell, like, 100 or 200 a month, so, like, I'll obviously do that, but for the
Mhm.
most part, I'm looking for they're harder to find, but, like, very, very, like, safe plays for the most part.
Okay, so I've got a kind of an idea. You're looking for an ROI, but it doesn't have to be massive like it was at the beginning. You were looking for the 100% return, but now you're more concerned with selling through. Maybe if something's not moving, as long as you're breaking even or you're getting a small profit on many items, it can still
Yeah.
leave you with. Yeah, I
I'm a
see.
big
Thank you.
fan of like, ROI is great, but I'm a big fan of, like, how much money I can make. So, like, if
Hmm.
I can make, like, $100 on something, or maybe, like, 2 or $300, but it's only 10% margin, but it's a
Hmm.
guaranteed like 200 or 300 bucks a month. Like I'm gonna take that because like it's an easy 200 or 300 bucks.
And it's
If
moving you forward, isn't it?
Yeah, and
It's
it's
still
moving
moving
me
you forward.
forward, it's good for sell-through, so there's
Hmm.
always different situations, and I think that is a big part of this is everyone's like, "Oh, what's the best way?" There is no best way, like, you have to be flexible, like, you gotta, like,
Hmm.
experiment, and eventually you'll find your way through. There's some stuff I make 30 or $40 on, but they don't sell that often. Like, there's just this constant balance that you
Mm.
gotta try to maintain.
Okay. Talking about constant battles and repricing. BQool, how do you find BQool repricer has helped you? Has it maybe increased the buy box or your profit margin, your sales month on month? How has BQool as a tool helped you in your business?
It's been awesome. So I started using BQool probably back in January, I think. When I really That was when it kind of got serious for me to do online arbitrage. And I was actually paying for the higher version and not using it. I thought I was because I watched a YouTube video. I wasn't using the AI repricing, and I
Right.
was just using
Okay.
the rule. And, like, the rule worked great and everything. I'm like, "Okay, like, this is cool." And then I watched some video or I think you guys might have reached out to me, something about AI. I'm like, "What?"
Hmm.
Like, I thought I had it set up, but I wasn't on the once I switched on the AI, it was insane. Like, the sales just, like, came rolling in. There was stuff that, like, I bought that was kinda on its way down, tanking, where I put it at a pretty low price, and I put it, I think, on the sales maximizer,
Okay.
and
Yes.
it took the price, like, I couldn't imagine, like, the price it was getting. Like, it was getting a higher price than,
Higher
like
than you.
yeah, it was just I was like, "Wow, like, this is insane." Um, so, yeah, I mean, it just helps you stay, like, competitive. Um, I would say, yeah, it's hard, like, with books. I don't use, BeQool for books, but for books, like, I'm much used to, like, fighting against much bigger sellers because there are huge
Mm.
mega sellers in the book space. But for OA, I feel like it almost evens the playing field, because, like, if you could reprice, like, as fast as Amazon allows you to reprice, like, it allows you to stay in the game, like, at all times.
Yes, that's yeah, automatically. And you mentioned the sales maximizer. We've got also the profit maximizer as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, so you can increase the profits, but already with the sales maximizer, you were seeing higher profits than you expected and selling
Oh, definitely. I
faster.
love the profit equalizer. That's probably the rule I use the most.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that endorsement, John.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, great. Are there any other tools, John, that you use with Be Cool? Is there anything else that you find works or just helps you in your business generally?
So
Software
for
or
stuff that integrates would be cool. I use Inventory Labs definitely
Mhm,
to manage all my inventory. So basically, Inventory Labs, it basically helps you create listings in Amazon Seller Central.
mhm,
Does all like kind of the legwork for you, and then that syncs with Be Cool, and you could like put your buy cost in and what you want to get for it, and all that stuff. That's super helpful. Um, Other stuff I use Seller Amp, which is really helpful for me. That's more for manual, online arbitrage. I use
mhm.
tactical arbitrage a little bit. Those are probably the main, 3 or 4 things I'm using right now.
Okay, great, great. And you would say that they are indispensable to your business. If you didn't have one of those tools, then it makes it a lot harder, doesn't it, to sell generally or
Oh, yeah.
find the
Oh,
products in the first
Keep is
place.
the big one. Keep is,
Keeper,
like, essential, yeah.
yeah, looking for those
Oh, yeah,
sales histories. Yeah.
those tools are definitely up there.
Sure. Thanks. Great. If you could give our audience two or three tips that you haven't already mentioned, John, what would they be? Anything to help people maybe get started or improve the way they're selling on Amazon?
I would say 1, like, be flexible. Um,
Hmm.
Amazon is definitely a lot of people complain about Amazon, they charge too much or they change stuff. It's a privilege to sell on Amazon. I like to tell people, "You know what? Like, if you don't like it, like, create your own Amazon." Like, I mean, they do us a huge service, like, what they charge us is pretty much, like, next to nothing for what you're getting. Um, so I feel like when they make a change, like, you have to make a change too, and I
Hmm.
think people don't really see it. Like, I don't know many people that just started doing Amazon. Most people have had a job, or at least one job in their life, whether they're
Mm.
were a lifeguard or doing something else. Um, the boss says, "Oh, like, we're changing the hours." Like, you might complain about it, but, like, you do the hours. Like, you know what I
You
mean?
have,
Like,
yeah.
you just adapt, like, "Okay, like, I guess this
Mm.
is the new thing here." Um, so I feel like more and more people just have to adapt. Number 2, I think a lot of people, I mean, as a content creator, there's so much information out there, and I think it's very easy to, almost mistake that you're taking action by, like, watching all this content, but you kinda are, you're learning about it, but you really need to, like, buy stuff. Like, create an account, buy something. I like to say, like, when you spend money, that's when you learn the fastest because, like, you either made a good buy or a bad buy, and, like, it makes it real easy to adjust from there. It's really hard to be like, "Oh, like, I think this could work," or "I think that could," like, just try something. It doesn't matter whether it's books, RA, OA, like, just get in the game. And if
Hmm.
you're already selling, I would say, I think one of the mistakes I started with, a lot of people gave me the advice like, "Oh, stick with one niche, like, learn that niche, just sell that niche. Um, don't like, you can learn it, like, don't get away from it." I think that's
Hmm.
almost a mistake. I think you wanna go more wide than deep in most
Okay.
cases. I mean, in most cases, I'm selling like apparel, pet supplies, and some grocery. Like I have three like pretty much main things.
Hmm.
When I first started, they were like, "Oh, just stick to one thing." But I think if you could go a little wider, especially when you're starting out, it's a little less frustrating. It's really hard to
Interesting.
just find one category profitably, but if you
Mm.
spread out, and I found that too, when I first started, I was selling much different things, but
Hmm.
once you start selling other things, like, I was very afraid to sell apparel for all the returns, and I really shied away from it, and then I really just started doing it. I'm like, "Oh, like, people do return it, but, like, it just goes back into my inventory and someone else buys it." It's not a huge deal. It's not like I'm getting all this stuff shipped back to me, like, the tags are off. Like, it's just it is what it is, and the margins are there to support that. So try it. Don't be afraid. Just
Mm.
try it, and, like, if what you're afraid of happens, then, like, don't do it anymore, like, do something else.
Right. I think it's what we mentioned. We mentioned this earlier. Just look, I was, I think I was talking about start a business model and stay with it, like as you did with books or
Yeah,
furniture for a while before diversifying. But what I'm hearing you say is that also at the same time you maybe have a rule, but also be
yeah,
flexible and be willing to change that if you get an inside idea, or you get some information that helps with selling and trying things. So going shallow, maybe looking at
yeah.
a wide area of things might also work. Be flexible, I'm hearing.
Yeah,
But
I
I've,
definitely would say that. Yeah, like, I started
mm,
with books and I did furniture, and then, like, you come to these points in the business where it's like, well, you either have to scale this more, like, what does that look like? Or you have to
mhm,
pivot, and if you don't like what the scaling looks like, then you have to pivot. When it came to books, it was like, "Okay, like, I really like this." Then restock limits happen, and it's like, "Hmm, let me look into the future." Like,
mhm,
it might be best to move to OA. It's not like I just, like, got rid of books, like, I tested the waters, like, a little bit with OA, tested a little more, and now it's, like, 60/40 right now, moving to
right.
80/20 and, like, kinda eventually 100%.
So it's changing, but it's not changing super fast. And you're not taking all your eggs out of one basket and putting them in another one. You're kind of testing the
Yeah,
water first.
and I guess it could be
Yes.
different with someone else because, like, I'm very deep into I have a warehouse, I have equipment, like, if you're just doing, like, RA, like, you don't have to go to Walmart anymore, like, you can just start
Mm,
buying online, but it depends on where you're
mm.
at, but, like, yeah, if you have something that's working, like, you just can't throw it out, like, you could just kind of, like, baby steps into the new thing.
Right. Yeah. I think that's really, really good advice. And be flexible, but most of all, start, do something.
Exactly.
We can watch a gazillion videos, but it's time to start, and action will bring you those rewards, hopefully.
Exactly.
Okay, okay. If you could go back in time, John, would you do anything differently? Maybe if the younger John just starting out selling, anything different?
I would probably experiment with OA a little sooner.
Hmm.
I did books really hard when I first started, and I think part of it, it's a very hard line to take. A lot of people say you have to just focus on one thing, and where I am like a believer in that, there also isn't any harm when you first start in trying a bunch of different things, right? Like when I first started, like everyone said online arbitrage, oh, the prices tank. You spend more money than you would on books, and then everyone buys it, and then like the price tanks, and everyone just like breaks even. You make no money. Like, oh, okay, I guess that's how it is. But it wasn't until I did online arbitrage, I was like, no, like that's totally false. Like that's not how it
Mm,
is. Like maybe it is for some people, but like if you're doing it the
mm,
right way, like that's not how it goes. So I think when you're starting, it's almost like one, you have to like follow your gut. Two, if something's working, like books was working for me, but as I leveled up, I didn't like the business model as much. Like
mm,
as I looked at what I had to do to like take it to the next level, I was like, I don't want to do that. And it wasn't because I was lazy, it was just because this is just not what I wanted to do, and that's not what I want the business to look like. So it was like kind of going to another model and like testing that out. So I do
mhm,
think like going back, I probably want to test out a couple different models and maybe instead of I've done a very good job of networking. I know a lot of like top sellers. I would have been better off instead of just talk to all the top booksellers, talk to some top OA sellers, some top RA
ah,
sellers, top private label people, or a whole because there's people in every area making like millions of dollars. Like, right?
mm,
There's top people. So like if you got their like spin, right? If you go to like a conference with just booksellers, they'll say everything else sucks. If you go to an online conference, say, oh,
mm,
everyone wants but OA. Like, so it's like who you talk to and I think getting, especially when you first start, a little bit of a rounder, pros and cons, I guess, to say,
mhm.
and then you try it and make your own decision, what you think might be best.
Yeah. I think that's great advice. Being more general and getting advice from different
Yeah.
areas. Do you have that expression in America? Take things with a pinch of salt,
Yes, we do.
where you don't believe
I
it.
think it's
Yeah.
like
Okay.
grain it's called. I don't know pinch. I think it's grain, but
Oh, you
same
have a
idea.
grain of salt. Okay.
Yeah.
We have a little
Pinch,
bit more in
grain,
the
same
UK.
thing.
Yeah, but listen to everybody, but ultimately follow your inner teacher, yourself, your gut feeling on things, and that will
Yeah.
see you right mostly. Yeah. Good. Is there anything that worries you, John, that keeps you up at night? Anything at all that you preoccupied with when selling?
I mean, Amazon is always could be worrisome. I mean, there's a lot of, and this is not to like scare anyone, and it's very
Mhm.
funny because I forgot who I was talking to, but a couple weeks ago I was talking to someone, and they increased the fees. Like you hear people get suspended, like IPO. There's all sorts of
IPO,
bad
yeah.
stuff that happen, and I was at this conference about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and when you look at the room, the biggest sellers in the room have all been suspended. They've all had IP alerts. They've all had all sorts of bad happen, all the fee increases, and there's solutions to all of it. Like, and it's not as scary as you think.
Hmm.
Um, I think a lot of the times, the suspension stories you hear, are very surface level. You don't usually people are doing something not correct,
Hmm.
or wrong or against terms of service, and they'll make it seem like they're not because 'cause they're bitter about it, and once you kinda dig into it, but I feel like the reselling community is just I don't know, it's one of the craziest communities where we're all competing against each other, but we're all willing to help each other the
Very
same way.
helpful.
Yeah, it's so
Sure.
weird, like,
Yeah.
I know, like, if my account got suspended today, I know 10 people I could, like, call that would, like, graciously help me, like, for free or be able to direct me into the right way or someone who could
Hmm.
really help me. Um, so, yeah, I think it's just about adopting like anything else, like, I like to say to people, like, "You know what? Like, you could lose your job tomorrow." Like, I
Mm.
don't know what I mean? Like, it's totally possible. Uh,
Yeah, but we don't
but
lose
yeah.
sleep over that. It's not.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, at least I feel like that's one of the most things I like about reselling,
Hmm.
is it kinda goes across, like, I also sell on eBay for books,
Hmm.
that'll change a little bit as I get out of books, but if you know how to buy something cheap and sell it somewhere else, like, you'll be fine. Like, it's maybe you're selling on Walmart now, maybe you're doing it on eBay, you're doing it on Etsy or wherever else, like, there'll always be a market for that. There's always gonna be
Mm.
cheaper goods that will sell more expensive somewhere else. It's just really applying it somewhere else, and so I
Yes.
think that's, like, a big thing, and with
I,
that is, like, don't get too over your head. I think a lot of
mhm.
people, um well, I'm not saying, like, don't, like, go full force on Amazon, like, don't, like, leverage, like, hundreds of $1,000 in credit. Like,
Mm.
be able to pay off the bills if they called you today. Like, have the money in the bank, and that would be a lot less stressful because then it's like, okay, you just stop spending money, get your account situated, and then, like, go from there.
Yeah, just reduce the cycles of payments for
Yeah,
new inventory, and you've got that cushion, that margin, whatever you want to call it, nest egg, something that gives you peace of
exactly,
mind and helps you to sleep. Sure.
exactly.
Are you working with VAs or assistants in any way? Anybody helping you in your business?
Funny you should say that 'cause this week, I'm gonna post a job posting for a VA to help, source for online arbitrage. I did have a helper for the books, and as I kinda got out of books, it just started not to work out.
Mm.
So we're not really working together anymore, and I just really focused all my attention on online arbitrage. And I originally wanted to get a VA, but I wanted to be able to, like, source for myself. This way I could
Mhm.
teach them, exactly what I wanted. I feel it's really hard. I think a lot of the Amazon space will tell you, "Oh, yeah, just get a VA and get, like, a prep center and don't worry about anything and just, like, sit on the beach and collect money." Which is great, and, like, that's the goal or whatever, but you have to know how to do everything yourself first, or, like, you don't know how to really judge someone else. Like, if you never prepped anything, like, you don't know if the prep center is doing a good job. If you never
Mm.
sourced anything, like, I know how many leads I could find in an hour. I don't
Mhm.
expect someone to be able to find as many as I can, but it should be pretty comparable. But, like, if you don't know what that number is, then, like, you're not gonna be able to find someone, like, good. Um, so I think, yeah, I'm definitely gonna hire a VA, and I'm excited for
Mm.
that. Little scary because it's, like, totally out of the realm for me,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
I hear really good things. I know a lot of good people. They've been giving me a lot of good advice, so I'm just gonna apply
Right. Yeah.
that for it.
Yeah, just to say, a lot of sellers have reported kind of not. It's not always the case, but many of them have reported the business has stepped up another level
Mm,
upon hiring the VAs. I think the worry is that they're not sure of the process, maybe. So you want to be
yeah.
there or be involved in the early stages and just walk them through the process. But once you can trust the VA and you've seen, see the results, you won't. A lot of sellers have said they've never looked back. They've it's been the right decision in most cases. So,
That's
yeah,
kinda
good
how
luck
I
with
felt
that.
when hiring someone to help me for books. It seemed, like, so, like, crazy, but then I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, wow," like, I don't know why I didn't do this, like, sooner almost.
Mm.
So yeah, I do think that will be the key and like you said, definitely training and being like, "Hey, this is what I'm looking for," like, explaining why this isn't good or why it is good or whatever, and just kinda
Sure.
talking that out in the beginning.
And then you can judge the time when it's right to go to the beach.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay. Um, how and why did you scale up your business, John? Why did you want to expand or get bigger? Is there one
Uh, for
reason?
for me, it was more I like doing books. It was almost out of necessity in a way, going to
Mm,
thrift stores, in different areas, constantly traveling. Like, for me,
mhm,
it just didn't seem sustainable, um but being able to buy from a wholesaler of books consistently, that's very sustainable because 'cause you're just placing orders, you don't have to travel anywhere, you could kind of build,
mm,
like I have a warehouse, I have equipment, so there's definitely it makes it go much quicker, you could
mhm.
definitely get, like, economies of scale, you're paying cheaper prices, so it's kind of a necessity, I guess, in a way, in terms of books.
Sorry. So by scaling up and cutting down on the travel that you were doing in the early days, you probably reduced the hours. Bizarrely, it's one of
Yeah.
those strange things. How many hours are you putting in a week now, roughly?
Right now, a lot, probably,
Mm.
like,
Ah.
between 40, 60, around
Hmm.
there. Right now, we're kinda, like, a big growing stage when it comes to, like, OA, like, we're still doing books, we still have online arbitrage that we're, like, working to the fold, um,
Mm.
but I'm starting to notice as we get, like, more replenishables, it's getting a little easier to source, and in a
Hmm.
weird way, like, I almost don't, like, see it as work, I really enjoy it, so it's just kinda like I mean, that includes, like, doing YouTube and Instagram, like, all that kinda stuff on
Oh,
top.
including the filming.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Right.
like, maybe it's a little more when you tie in social media, but it's just, like, almost like, I don't consider this, like, work, like, it's 10:30
Mm.
here, like, at night, and it's like, "This is so much fun," like, I'm so happy to be doing this, like, it's just, like, a fun thing to do, and that's kinda how I look at it, it's not, like, work, it's just, like, what I do, and I don't know, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, that comes across in your videos, and now even it's you're enjoying talking about the subject. You're well versed in it, and you're comfortable, and you enjoy doing it. You're doing full-time hours, but it's
Yeah.
something that you're passionate about, and you like seeing the progress, and all mostly, well, I would guess all aspects of the business you're enjoying. Is that true?
Oh, yeah, definitely, and I think that's
Hmm.
a lot of people say Amazon is saturated, to go to your point, like, where, like, "Oh, I don't think this is work." It is very, very hard to,
Mm.
find someone that, like, I just know normally or a friend that wants to talk about this. And so, like, there is no way, like, we have to have this or, like, I have to go on Instagram or, like, other people's YouTube channels to, like, talk about this. So, like, it's not saturated at all. Like, people don't
Mm.
even really know about it.
Okay, okay. I think that the difference is I have to do this video, or I have to do that. That's what some people say, but you're more, I'm
Yeah.
enjoying doing this video. And it's something that
Yeah, I have, like, a whole list of videos, like, I
uh,
don't even have enough time to do. Like, I just wanna, like, do all of them, but I'm like, well, like, just keep doing one by one and we'll get there.
you'll get there, sure. You're already there, I guess. Um, my final question, just for a bit of fun as well, John. If you could have any superpower, what would you like to be able to do?
Oof, that's a
Have
tough
you ever
one.
have you ever been asked that one before?
I have not been asked that one before.
Ah.
If I could have any superpower.
So it could be invisibility, you can fly anywhere, you can pick any of the Avengers, be a mind reader, anything you like.
I'd probably apply it to business. I'd wanna know, um, all the profitable ASINs before everyone found them.
So
Sell on
tell the
Amazon.
future then. Have an eye into
Yeah,
the future or know what's coming
exactly.
next.
Yeah, and they
Okay,
wouldn't tank, no one else would find them. Or
sure.
I'd find
Yeah.
profitable products and, like, somehow block people from buying them, so I'd be the only buyer.
Well, we
That'd
could
be
call you Mr. Super Monopoly or something like that. You'd have a.
yeah, there you yeah. I think that'd be the yeah, that'd probably be the best play. And I'd
Okay,
let other friends buy it, but other than that, no.
sure. Yeah, I think that was interesting what you mentioned earlier. The community, although there's competition, of course, people are trying to sell, get their products in the buy box, etc. They are at the same time very helpful. They'll help you
Yeah.
out if you have any problems. So Yeah, I think that's interesting as well. Um,
I
John, have I missed anything? Is there anything you'd like to share with our audience? Something that I maybe forgot to ask you?
I don't think so. I really just think, like, a lot of people are really just lacking, like, almost just to get started. I do think it's always hard, like, I always wanna help people, and I try to be as nice as I can, but I think I, like, had a tweet or something, it's like, Amazon or selling on Amazon, it's not like a spectator sport, like, no
Hmm.
one's gonna hold your hand, like, we'll give you the information, but, like, you have to take action on it. There's so much information out there, so many YouTube videos, and I get so many DMs on, like, "Oh, how do you start?" And it's like, I don't know, like, I don't know your situation, I don't know how much money you have,
Mm,
but then there are those DMs where like, "Hey, uh, I figured out how to start. I'm doing like 5K. Like, how can I get to 10?" It's like, "Okay, like no problem. Like, let's get on a call. Like, we'll like work it out. Like, I'll show." It's those are the types of people that are gonna make it. I know
mhm.
exactly when someone says, "Oh, like, how do you get started?" I was like, I don't know,
You know
maybe that
who it
person
is.
will make but it's not highly likely for that to happen, like, you have to be like,
Mhm,
"Hey," or ask them like, "Hey, I think I kinda found 5 products, like, could you give me some guidance? Like, do you think they're good or something?" Like, "Yeah, sure, I'm, like, willing to help you," but, like, don't be, like, messaging people without, like, an Amazon account and stuff like that, like, it's
mm,
up to you. It's your business,
mm.
like, you take the initiative, like, figure out how to get an account and, like, kinda get set up and stuff like that, um, and I feel a lot of people too are just sadly, like, kinda lazy, like
Mm,
there are tons of people who get questions and they, like, tell me about them, and, like, they have YouTube videos about them, or, like, it's on YouTube or whatever. Like, I'd rather someone ask, like, a very specific question rather than some, like, "Oh, here's a link to, like, the YouTube video where, like, I talked about this." And, like, that's fine, like, maybe they don't know who I am or whatever, but, like, I feel like people don't Google or do, like, the little just, like, the basics
mhm,
where that would take if they just had that, like, little basic knowledge and then, like, watched a video and be like, "Hey, at, like, the 20-minute mark, you said this, like, what do you mean?" I'm like, "Oh, like, this is what I meant," but, like you know what I mean? I feel like
mm.
it has to be, like I feel like people just have to put in more work or be willing to go a little further, um, in the
So
journey to
it's
kinda, like, be more of a self-starter, I guess.
yeah, self-starter. Yeah, so taking the initiative, actually getting started, get the ball rolling, getting
Yeah,
on the first or the second rung of the ladder, because you know that the type of question they're asking, that they're either ready or they're not ready to take your advice and move to the next.
exactly, and there's the people who ask the same almost same questions or, like, a
Mhm,
lot of questions, and you just know they haven't started yet, and it's super frustrating to dedicate time to that. Like, I love to help everyone, but, like, there's someone else who started who, like, I could really help more because they're, like, doing
mhm.
it.
Yeah, so it's helping smart. You can work smart, but you can
Yeah,
also help
exactly.
smart as yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Well, John, this has been wonderful. I'd like to just tell everybody, please remember to like and subscribe if you found this information useful. I certainly did. Remember also to check out the Side Hustle Experiment website and John's channels as well on Instagram, YouTube, all of them. He casually drops information bombs when driving around, and be there to pick them up. It's really, really interesting and informative videos that he puts out. We'll put some links at the bottom of this video. Thanks for being a great guest, John. I'll continue to follow your Amazon story online, and fingers crossed for that 7-figure
Yeah,
milestone.
yes. Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome. I really appreciate it.
It really has been a blast. Thank you. All right, then. Until next time, Repricer fans, be cool.